So right now I'm standing with Tom Riley, the Park Development Administrator for the City of Santa Clarita. And Tom, we're standing in an interesting place in Santa Clarita because we are west of the 5 freeway, yet we are in the City of Santa Clarita.
That's right, Evan. This is the only property that the city owns and controls on the west side of the freeway. It's about 60 acres that we purchased in the late 90s. I think it was 1999. And we use park and open space and some watershed money to purchase it from the state of California. And it's the mouth of Towsley Canyon here. And so we're very excited that we're coming on to a master plan process to figure out what we want to do with this and what the community wants to do.
Okay, so let's take a couple of steps backwards. So we are basically by the old road, and Calgrove Boulevard is pretty much where Towsley is located. And this is what is known as the Rivendale property. So for longtime residents that drive the old road, they see sort of these abandoned outbuildings at the mouth of Towsley Canyon, and that's where we are.
That's right. Those buildings were part of the Rivendale Ranch, which was, as I understand it, from about the mid 80s to maybe the early 90s, was in operation for events, special events, for equestrian and roping events and that sort of thing. So the buildings, some of them are corrals. There was kind of a bunkhouse over there and a concession building, and the city boarded those up, and we've just kind of hung on to them all these years, but we don't at this point have any use for them. We'll find out through this process if there is any use moving forward.
Okay, so let's sort of define roughly where Rivendale exists. So we see the old road and the 5 freeway right now. So basically from the old road, as you go into Towsley Canyon, we're moving up the road, which actually I just found out you told me is a continuation of Wiley Canyon Road is what it's listed as on some documents. And so where more or less is this property?
So from the frontage there's about 6 to 10 acres that's relatively flat that you see along the old road. And then it pans around to the behind us here, where up to the ridge line, the city owns most of that. Adjacent over that ridge line is some private property that from time to time has come up as a potential development. But we have most of that ridge line, and then it continues on up the canyon to where the most popular hiking area in town, Towsley Canyon, opens up in that direction. That's to the west.
And I think it's exciting enough that we get to retain this area for open space, but one of the pushes from the City Council and one of, I think, the efforts that you've been very involved in is taking our open spaces and making them more user-friendly and in putting more amenities in.
And that's right. Our efforts are to make sure once we purchase it that people can actually get out and enjoy it. For the most part, there aren't any restrictions or hazards or anything that we need to keep people off of. So part of our planning on all of our open space, and will be a focus here as well, is to improve access, whether it's for disabled, elderly, school groups and so forth, loop trails, things that might not be for everyone that wants to go on the 5-mile loop.
Okay, so let's talk about the master planning process, and I think we're just starting out, and as we do that, I think one of the consistencies with the City of Santa Clarita is we always try to get public input and multiple entities' input on what we're looking at. So talk about the process and what we're going to see in the upcoming months.
Well, sure. You're right. We tend to use a very transparent process. We find that by doing that and getting buy-in from the largest group of stakeholders, that we'll have a lot of interest in keeping the property up, and they'll help watch it and manage it, and there'll be a lot of ownership. So our process, as you said, is just kicking off. We have hired a consultant from the San Luis Obispo area RRM Design Group that does a lot of these types of plans in semi-rural urban areas. And we're looking forward to kicking that off on March 2nd with a public meeting that'll be at Wiley Elementary School, followed by, weather permitting, a tour of the site over here. So this would be much like we've done at a lot of our other parks and open space areas, and we'll get people out on the ground and get their ideas and take their comments back in the multi-purpose room. Later in the process, we'll come back to the community at least a second time and show them what we heard, and ultimately concluding with a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting where the plan would be accepted by the city. That's anticipated in June.
Tom, I want to thank you for joining us. If you're out there, look for more information on hikesantaclarita.com.